So, Slee, let's reflect very briefly on this research report. What's the top line?
Certainly, Jeremy. Now, this research by the University of Pretoria was conducted before the outbreak of Listeria, during the outbreak, as well as when it was declared to be officially over. Over 300 samples were collected, mostly in rural areas as well as in informal sectors. And what the study found was that there was still a prevalence of Listeria, a different strain, though, in these areas, and that they found this strain not only in processed meat products like polony, but also in its packaging as well. Now, what the report says is that basically, although this Listeria strain is prevalent, it's not the same strain which caused the outbreak, which we saw over 1,000 cases being reported. So at this stage, what we know is that Listeria will always really be prevalent in South Africa in small doses, because we know that this is a foodborne disease. It's prevalent not only in water, but in our soil as well as in some veggies, in our veggie products. So what this report is saying is that basically that we need to have more stricter regulations, more stringent measures in order to ensure that we don't see an outbreak that we saw this year.
Let's talk about the stringent measures if we can in just a moment, but I think this is absolutely critical to stress that we mustn't be alarmist here. We're talking about acceptable levels, a different strain. In other words, the foodstuffs that were affected previously are able to be purchased, and the summation here is that there is absolutely no reason to panic.
Yes, there's no reason to panic, but South Africans still need to be cautious, because what this research also found was that there were traces of Listeria in products which weren't recalled, and we know that it was enterprise products mostly which were called off the market. We know that the Tiger Brands Polokwane factory was shut down, which was found to be the source of this particular outbreak, as well as several other factories here in Johannesburg. So there is no there is no need to, be alarmist or anything like that. It's just that South Africans just need to be aware that Listeria is still prevalent in this country. We have small doses of it, but that strain, that SD6 strain that we saw killing hundreds of people, is not what we're dealing with here. But we're dealing with a different strain, which not only was prevalent in enterprise products, but other products which weren't called off the market.
So we're talking about stringent measures then. There is still a need, I'm assuming, and I think this was mentioned by the health department itself, to improve safety protocols.
Certainly. Now, what we know is that the National Health Department, rather, is now working on more stringent regulations to see whether we need to basically put a limit on the levels of Listeria in the country, or whether we should have a zero tolerance at all. We know that in the US, they've got regulations which say that they don't want any levels of Listeria, whereas in the UK, there's basically a cap on the levels of Listeria that they have. So South Africa is now busy working on those regulations, and we also know that processed meat producers have been given until March 2019 in order to comply with these international standards of health and safety in factories as well as in factories which produce processed meat.
Have you had an opportunity, I'm wondering, either to engage with shops today about how they feel about this, or for that matter, consumers?
Certainly, I in fact went to some retail shops today and spoke to some residents here in Johannesburg. And the sense I got from retailers was actually that they're still waiting to hear from Tiger Brands exactly when they're expecting to get their goods back on the shelves. But it does seem like there's going to be a lot of there's a trust deficit now, and retailers are quite cautious, or they're wary in thinking that customers will actually now once again buy Tiger Brand goods. And when I spoke to consumers, they were quite alarmed at the fact that we still have Listeria prevalent, despite the fact that our health minister last month declared that the outbreak was over. Let's have a listen, Jeremy.
I stopped eating polony when I heard about Listeriosis, but I wasn't too crazy about it before either.
Yeah. So now, of course, you're saying that you're taking a sabbatical and you're staying off processed meat since this outbreak.
Yes, I do think I want to keep to unrefined options as far as possible.
I've started eating polony like last month, and I didn't know that Listeria had breakthrough again, so I'm not sure anymore now. Yes.
Yeah, but of course it's not deadly. Do you think you're going to have to stop now just to be a bit cautious again?
Yes, I'll stop. Yeah, because I'm not sure if it's going to be that serious or not this time around, so I have to stop.
Yeah. Do you eat kotas? Do you now take your kotas without polony?
I don't eat kotas anymore. I don't, but yeah, I'll stop eating polony.
Now, the death